The day my aunt's face turned white in court, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the foreclosure notice she taped to my mother's door, the hospital bills she misplaced, the way she told me at 16 that we were lucky to even be allowed at Grandpa's funeral, and suddenly I didn't feel sorry at all. My name is Claire Whitmore, and for 20 years, my Aunt Diane controlled every dollar of the Whitmore family fortune. After my grandfather passed away, she slid into power like she'd been waiting her whole life for it. Investments, properties, trust accounts. She handled everything. And somehow, my mom and I ended up with nothing. Grandpa used to say family was blood. That blood mattered. He built his real estate empire from nothing in rural Ohio and moved us all into a life of lake houses and trust funds. But after he died, Diane told the court she was the most financially responsible sibling. Translation? She had the sharpest elbows. My mom never fought her. That was her flaw. She believed family should stay united. Diane believed family should stay obedient. When Mom got sick 5 years later, we found out something strange. The medical trust Grandpa supposedly set aside for his daughters was empty. Empty. Diane claimed market downturn, claimed Grandpa had restructured things before he died, claimed there was no money left for Mom's treatments beyond what insurance covered. Mom passed away 6 months later, and Diane sent flowers, white lilies, with a note that said, "Family is forever." That was the day I decided I would never forget. Fast forward to last year. I'm 32. I work in corporate litigation in Chicago. I learned from the best, Diane herself. I studied contracts like weapons, learned how money hides, learned how greed smiles at funerals. Then one morning I got a certified letter. Grandfather's estate was being reopened. Apparently, a previously sealed amendment to his will had been discovered in the attorney's archived files after the old firm dissolved. The court ordered all direct descendants to appear for the reading. I showed up in a navy suit that cost more than Diane's entire courtroom performance outfit. She walked in confident, polished, diamond earrings flashing under the fluorescent lights. The lawyer, Mr. Feldman, cleared his throat. He read the amendment. I, Thomas Whitmore, declare that the remainder of my estate, including undeclared offshore holdings and property trusts, shall be distributed exclusively to my biological descendants, verified by DNA testing. The courtroom went silent. Diane blinked. DNA testing. Mandatory. Failure to comply would result in automatic disqualification from inheritance claims. I watched her hand tighten around her purse, because there was something about my aunt, something she had spent decades making sure no one questioned. She refused immediately, said it was invasive, disrespectful, unnecessary, but the judge overruled her objection. Testing was court-ordered. And suddenly, the woman who controlled millions couldn't control a single swab of cotton. That was the first crack in her empire. She still smirked when she walked out that day, but I saw it. Fear. And I knew something she didn't. Grandpa never did anything without a reason. Welcome to Voice Revenge Story. If you love seeing justice served cold, hit that subscribe button. The DNA collection day felt like a family reunion hosted by karma. Court clerks lined us up one by one, swab, seal, sign. Simple. Diane delayed hers as long as she could, claimed allergies, claimed procedural concerns, even brought her own attorney to argue chain of custody technicalities. Didn't matter. The judge warned her, non-compliance equals forfeiture. So she swabbed, but she didn't look at anyone afterward. 3 weeks passed before the results were scheduled to be read in probate court. Those were the longest 3 weeks of Diane's life. Mine? They were peaceful, because during those weeks, I did my own digging. You see, when you work in corporate litigation, you learn how to request records without looking like you're requesting records. Old hospital birth logs, closed adoption registries, church baptism records from 1968. I found something. Diane had been born 6 months before Grandpa married my grandmother. 6 months. There were whispers in the archived town newsletters, a brief separation, a private family matter. Then I found the real bombshell. Grandma once filed for divorce, briefly, citing non-paternity concerns. The case was withdrawn 2 weeks later, sealed. I sat back in my office chair staring at the scanned document. Grandpa knew. He had always known. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed. Extended cousins who had crawled out of nowhere once rumors of undeclared offshore holdings surfaced. Mr. Feldman adjusted his glasses and began reading the verified DNA summary. First name, match confirmed. Second name, match confirmed. Then, Diane Whitmore. Result indicates 0 biological relation to Thomas Whitmore. Silence. The kind that rings in your ears. Diane didn't move first, like her brain had frozen trying to process the sentence. 0. Not reduced probability, not partial mismatch. 0. Her attorney jumped up, shouting about lab errors, demanding retesting. The judge calmly replied that 2 independent labs had verified the findings. I watched the color drain from her face, the same woman who once told my dying mother there was not enough left. Now there was everything left, and none of it was hers. But that wasn't even the best part. Mr. Feldman continued. Furthermore, per Amendment Clause 7, any acting trustee found to be not a biological descendant shall be subject to full forensic accounting and restitution review. Translation? Audit. Full forensic audit. Diane's empire didn't just crack, it imploded. The forensic audit took 8 months. 8 glorious months. Turns out, Diane hadn't just managed the estate, she had siphoned from it. Slowly, strategically, through shell LLCs and consulting fees routed to companies that traced back to her husband. Millions, including the medical trust that was supposed to cover my mom. The court froze her assets. Properties were seized. Offshore accounts flagged. The lake house she loved so much? Sold to repay estate damages. And because Grandpa's amendment included a penalty clause for fiduciary misconduct, Diane wasn't just disqualified, she was liable. Personally. For everything she took. I didn't celebrate publicly. I didn't need to. Justice is quiet when it's done right. The final distribution hearing was small, clean, professional. As the sole verified biological grandchild of my mother, and with Diane disqualified, a significant portion of the estate transferred to me. But here's the thing. The money wasn't the victory. The truth was. Grandpa had known his entire life that Diane wasn't his biological daughter, and instead of humiliating her, he raised her as his own. But he also protected the legacy, and when he realized she was draining it, he wrote one final safeguard. DNA. It wasn't cruelty, it was calculation. After the hearing, Diane tried to approach me outside the courthouse. For the first time in my life, she looked small. "Claire," she said, voice shaking, "we're still family." I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said the same words she once told my mother. "Family is blood, remember?" And I walked away. I used part of the inheritance to establish a medical assistance foundation in my mother's name, funding treatment for families denied coverage. The rest? Invested, protected, transparent. No secrets, no manipulation, just legacy. Diane moved out of state after the restitution order finalized. I hear she works in a small accounting firm now. Irony. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's a cotton swab and a courtroom microphone. And sometimes justice really is served cold. I hear she works in a small accounting firm now. It's funny how life works. Some of my relatives say I was too cold, that I should have shown her mercy because of family ties. But I look at the foundation I built in my mother's name, and I know I did the right thing. Now I want to ask you, did I go too far by taking everything from her, or was this the only way to get justice for my mother? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe that karma never misses an address, type karma down below. I'll be hearting the best responses.